Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming. My name is Matt Ferris. I'm a project manager with the city of Denver in the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. We are here tonight to discuss the upcoming sanitary sewer project that we have going on in and around the intersection of 29th Avenue and Speer Boulevard. We'll go ahead and go to the next screen and I'll introduce the upper level project team here. Again, my name is Matt Ferris. I'm a project manager for the city of Denver. Here with us tonight, we have Mark Almond, and he is a project manager for Concrete Works, and they are the general contractor that successfully bid and was awarded this scope of work. We also have tonight with us Rand Peterson, and he's a project inspector for the city of Denver. He will be more or less on site during the entire construction project. Anytime work going on, he'll be the city's designated individual responsible for inspecting work performed. And we also have Tekla Gaspar, and she is working for CIG as a subcontractor of the city of Denver to help us with public information, basically helping us get the word out about our project that we have. We'll go ahead and go to the next screen. Questions. I would ask that we kind of save questions for the end of the presentation. Hopefully we'll answer a lot of questions during the course of the presentation here tonight. If you do have a question at any time, feel free to enter it into the chat function, and it will be sent to the hosts, and we can start looking at your question at that point in time. And at the conclusion of the presentation, we'll have an official question and answer portion. If you did not chat your question, you can, at that point in time, raise your hand, and using the button on the Zoom platform, and the host will call on you and allow you to speak at that point in time once the presentation is complete and we've gotten to the question and answer section. Kind of going through the rough agenda for the meeting tonight, we'll just present some project info, kind of the what, why, and where we are. We'll talk through the upcoming schedule, and then we'll talk through the lane closures that are going to be initiated on Speer Boulevard. Kind of talk through what to expect, kind of highlight some alternate routes that maybe potentially could be taken by individuals attempting to get to and from the downtown and I-25 corridor over to the Federal Boulevard corridor. We'll go through our contact info and then follow up with any question and answers. First things first, kind of what we are doing out there. So there is currently in Speer Boulevard, there is an existing sanitary sewer main. That sanitary sewer main is an 8-inch diameter pipe, and it is experiencing some infrastructure degradation. There's some groundwater out there that has seeped into the system and calcified on the interior diameter of the sanitary sewer pipe, basically taking that what should be holding capacity of an 8-inch pipe and severely restricting that capacity for a couple of blocks there between 29th Avenue and Bryant Street. And so the reason we're out there is to basically remove that pipe that's deteriorating and replace it with a new sanitary sewer pipe. In part of that work is building some new manholes and retying in the existing sanitary service tie-ins on both sides of Speer that currently tie into that the main that's in place. The benefits of us performing this work is we're replacing the aging infrastructure to prevent future breaks or any potential future issues with the main. While we are there, will also be reconstructing some of the non-compliant ramps, pedestrian ramps that are in the area, and putting them into compliance with current ADA standards. For this slide, we're gonna talk about schedule, and I'm gonna go ahead and kick it over to Mark Allman with he's the project manager for Concrete Works for the general contractor that's going to be on the job. Mark, you want to take it from here?
Hi, everyone. Hello. So we are going to start this project. I know everyone cares mostly about when are we going to start? How is it going to affect me? So this project is going to take approximately 4 months to complete. And before we get going, we'll have to set up dewatering and sanitary bypass and stuff, but we're going to start basically at Bryant Street and work towards 29th along Speer Boulevard. All of the work will be kind of on the southwest lanes. That's the lanes that go into downtown, and we'll have the traffic pushed over to the other lanes, the ones that normally always run out of downtown. And I believe there's more information on that later on. But yeah, basically we're going to come in. It's going to be probably a month before you guys see real heavy activity out there. And from there, like I said, maybe 4 months or so of activity. And then, yeah, we'll clean it up and try to make it, better than the way we have it today. So I know right now the big issues that we're working through is access and traffic control. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward project, and I think we have a pretty good team put together here.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I know, just to touch on a little bit further on some of Mark's statements. Again, it's labeled, Speer is a little bit weird here just because it runs on a diagonal angle, but we will be referring to, because it's the way that it's referred to on I-25 exits of a southbound and northbound. So southbound Speer is heading in the kind of southeast direction into downtown and towards I-25 corridor, and northbound Speer is the northwest directions, kind of heading towards Federal Boulevard. Again, during our construction, we will need to fully shut down. There's 3 current lanes that head into this in the southbound direction. And just based off of where the existing sanitary sewer system is, we have to shut those 3 lanes down for the duration of the project. We are looking into some potentials currently with our traffic engineering department of up towards the intersection of 29th Avenue to maintain a sense of normalcy up there as best as we can for a period of time of only shutting 2 lanes down in that far northern side of the project reaches. But for all intents and purposes, there's going to be 3 lanes shut down in the southbound direction, and we will convert. There is 3 northbound lanes that run in this section of Speer Boulevard. We will convert one of those lanes, the furthest inside center lane, into a single southbound lane heading into the downtown corridor, and keep the other 2 far outside lanes, the shoulder lane and the center lane, and we will keep those as northbound lanes. So once we have mobilized in, again, to recap, we'll shut down all 3 southbound lanes, and the remaining 3 northbound lanes 1 will be converted into southbound, and 2 will remain northbound. And that will come with some, go ahead, Tekel, please advance to the next slide. What to expect during this kind of street occupation here is we will work with businesses and residences to maintain the greatest extent possible your normal day-to-day way of approaching and accessing your business or residence. I will say that if anyone on here is a business owner or works at a business and we have not reached out to you yet, please take an opportunity towards the end of this presentation to take down our project contact information, and please do reach out to us. Residential residents are more than welcome to do so as well, and reach out to us. Let us know that, hey, I work or I live off of this corridor, or I own a business off of this corridor, and how am I supposed to be able to access my place of work or residence during your project. And we can definitely reach out to you in a one-on-one opportunity and speak with you at that point in time about some very specific ways to access different areas. There are going to be in some situations, and I'm thinking about people that live or work at 2899 Speer at the Speer lofts there, because you all have one single point of access to a parking lot. There are going to be some difficulties in accessing your parking area, that are different from your normal day-to-day routine. We definitely have been in touch with your HOA at that building and are working through some access possibilities, and will follow up with everybody that lives and works at 2899 Speer in a greater detail in the near future. Moving on for more of what to expect, we have our general contractor, Concrete Works, has already went ahead and sent out a vibration assessment consultant. Pretty typical in any heavy civil construction where we have digging a deep trench adjacent to buildings, and we've have requested that our contractor send out their consultant just to do some pre-construction assessments to more or less determine, the existing condition of the building, what year it was constructed. Is there any exterior issues already going on that we can document and then take into account before we set predetermined limits of vibration, allowable vibrations they will be monitored throughout the job. And we have an active monitoring system that lets us know when we are reaching the predetermined levels of vibration that have been assigned to this job that are allowable. Basically, it helps let us know when we're reaching those limits, getting close to them, and then we can adjust our means and methodologies accordingly. We'll also be monitoring and keeping noise levels within the Denver Department of Public Health allowable levels for the area. We'll be working to contain dust as needed. Given the time of year it is, there's not as many concerns with dust as it would be in a dry summer, but we will monitor that and handle dust on site as needed. Flaggers, there'll be flaggers on site during construction activities to assist with getting traffic flow on Speer Boulevard. We do not have any planned service impacts. I will say that it's underground construction, and the world is not perfect, and there are underground utilities that may or may not be marked that we may or may not know about. So we work with our contractor to identify all of those prior to digging, but sometimes things happen. And, if there's an unmarked gas line or something, there's always a potential for that. But based off of what we know of what's in the area and underground, we do not currently have any plans for shutting any services down, whether that's water, sanitary sewage, gas lines, electricity, any of the above, telecommunications as well. Also, what you can expect from us is timely communication as a project team to the general public. Again, we will talk about it towards the end of the presentation in the contact slide, but we do have a project email address and a phone number and a website, and we will be sending out public updates on a weekly basis to attempt to keep everybody informed of what's going on site. In order to receive those, you'll have to send us an email asking to be added to that distribution list. And again, we will talk about that in greater detail at the end of the presentation.
Hey, Matt, you mind if I jump in for a quick minute?
Yes, please go ahead.
So this is Mark Allman, Concrete Works contractor here again. And I wanted to let all of you guys know that the city does take, from my experience working with different entities and stuff, the city and county of Denver does a good job of they understand that they're working for you guys. And so even though he's my customer, you being his customer, it prioritizes how we as a contractor work with the public. And so when we're out there in the street, I want you guys to feel comfortable. Don't come walk into a dangerous construction site, but get one of our attention. We know that we do a lot of work that's very disruptive to people. And we understand it. And sometimes there's simple things that we can do, and we're interested in helping people. So I wanted to make that clear. Also, it helps us very much. I don't mind handing out my business cards and stuff, but it helps a lot if communications go through Tekla as well, because she's the one that's going to be keeping me and Matt straight and making sure that we actually close all of the items that get brought up to us. So that's very helpful to us as a project team to make sure Tekla is your kind of the clearinghouse for for information going back and forth. But do feel free to ask any of us that are out there on site too. Go ahead, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And again, we will get to the project contact information here in a handful of slides. Okay, so again, our actual construction work we are doing is on Speer Boulevard between 29th Avenue and Bryant Street. So it's a 2 blocks from 29th Avenue to Clay Street and then to Bryant Street. Once we are out there, you will notice we have a taper zone of traffic control to start pushing traffic into the lanes that we want them to be in. So more or less our construction footprint, including our taper zones, will go from on Speer Boulevard from Federal Boulevard to Alcott Street. Just thinking through and trying to help the general public in their commuting efforts. If you are just trying to work your way through this area, especially in the southbound direction, heading towards the I-25 corridor, we are necking that down to one lane. It's currently 3 lanes. It's getting necked down to 1 lane. There will be some congestion to be expected with that. So starting to think through and plan through your day-to-day routing that might be beneficial to you to avoid the congestion that's associated with our work is potentially taking Federal Boulevard further south to 23rd Avenue, which is also an arterial street and should flow fairly well and handle an increased load of traffic. So 23rd Avenue to Zuni. Conversely, there's also 29th Avenue that might be an effective alternate route, taking 29th Avenue to Zuni and back onto Federal Boulevard. Again, with us not actually shutting down any lanes of any full closures, it doesn't necessitate us to, and working with our traffic engineering department to post actual detour routes. But again, these are just kind of some thoughts on additional ways to access, to bypass our construction and the congestion that will come with it. So as we mobilize into the site, please keep in mind the opportunities that are available there on 23rd Avenue and 29th Avenue, utilizing Zuni Street to kind of bypass our construction. And really that goes for either direction, southbound or northbound on Speer. On a broader scope, if you are heading into the downtown area or coming from it and don't necessarily have to utilize Speer Boulevard, just want to bring up some other potential options, starting with the furthest south on this map that we're looking at here. There is Federal Boulevard to 23rd Avenue and the bridge over that heads onto Water Street and kind of goes past the aquarium, Denver Aquarium, the Children's Museum, REI, and then ties into 15th Street. And that's another potential option for accessing downtown and avoiding Speer Boulevard. Also continuing along east on 29th Avenue, and you can hit 15th Street from there. And then there's also an opportunity to head up to the 20th Street Bridge over I-25, kind of utilizing that Central Street, which is kind of acts as a frontage road on the west side of I-25, cutting off from 15th Street there. So again, these are just kind of thoughts that maybe you'd like to keep in mind as you're traveling in and around the area to access either the downtown area or I-25 corridor, while trying to avoid the congestion that we would be causing out there. Go ahead, Tekla. So I guess here's a points for question and answer. Again, just touching on one last thing. If you have very specific concerns about accessing your business or your residence, your best bet is probably to reach out to us on our project email address. Just tell us where you're trying to get, and we can work through with you, answer in an email, or have a specific, set up a specific meeting with you on exactly what your needs are. With that being said, again, we realize that 2889 Speer, the property right at the corner of 29th and Speer, we definitely realize the challenges that lie at that property. And again, we are working with your HOA. Please stay tuned for further information. Probably going to have a separate meeting specifically for users of that property. So with that being said, we'll turn it over to questions and answers. We'll leave this contact information up here on the screen. Please feel free to take it down. and utilize it as you need to. And we'll turn it over for questions. And again, if you have a question, either type it into the chat or utilizing the icons on the Zoom platform, go ahead and raise your hand and we can call on you.
Matt, there's a question about how his neighbors can access this recording and where and how soon. And we will have this up on the website by Friday.
Okay, perfect. So yes, we are recording this. We'll have it, the version up by the end of this week on our website, which you can see on this page here. And please do, I believe you have to utilize the uppercase letters that are associated with that bit.ly address, if I'm not mistaken from previous experience. Hey, Tekla, I see Gina has her hand raised.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I put a question in the chat. How do people sign up to receive the updates, Matt, that you spoke of earlier?
Yes, great question. Again, if you can send an email to this email address listed on this page, so the Speer Sanitary at denvergov.org, and just send an email, say, I'd like to sign up for the weekly updates. We will get your email address added to that distribution list, and then it should just come into your inbox, on a weekly basis as we update. It's usually towards the end of the week that we do it. And that should get you signed up for it.
Perfect, thank you. I am with Councilman Sandoval's office, so I'm sure once the work starts, we will be getting calls. So I want to, this way I'll know, but then encourage people to do the same so that they know firsthand.
That would be
thank
great.
you. And
Yes.
thank you for hosting this meeting.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, that would be great if council could help us as questions and concerns come in regarding our occupation on Speer, to help direct them to the proper information. So that'd be awesome. I will take this time to say we will also have, still working on the exact location of the variable message boards that will be posted on the side of the road, kind of alerting traffic as they come down Speer Boulevard or Federal Boulevard, just alerting them of the closures ahead. I think that we could also have our website information posted on those variable message boards and again, just to help get the general commuting public's awareness of our website, and from our website, they can be able to access this presentation as well as our email address and our contact info.
Thank you.
Well, we'll wait for a little bit longer here if there's any lingering questions that come out of this. Again, I will say, because I've seen some familiar faces in the audience. If you are a business along that Speer Boulevard corridor that we've already spoken with, for sure we will be following up in the near future with some additional information. It's a little bit of a fluid situation as we're still working with our traffic engineering department, really finalizing some of the minute details on our traffic control setup and what that's going to look like. So please bear with us, and we will continue to be in touch throughout kind of the pre-construction phase of this. And as we inch closer to mobilizing in and occupying lanes of Speer. I see a text in the chat, I guess a couple, so I'll try to address these. How can we address access to recording? We spoke to that. Okay, here's a question from Alcott Street. If we're on Alcott, will we be able to turn right onto Speer Boulevard? So anybody that, and I am drawing a blank at the name of the apartments down there on either side of Alcott Street. There are some high-rise apartments down there at Alcott and Speer. As you are exiting on northbound Alcott Street, you will be able, through the entirety of the construction, to turn right onto southbound Speer Boulevard. You will be able to do that. Our occupation will end prior to Alcott Street. However, with that being said, it will be not allowed, and this is one of the things we're working through with our traffic engineering department right now, a left-hand turn out of northbound Alcott Street is not going to be able to be allowed for the duration of the occupation of the lanes of Speer Boulevard. Again, for residents, and we have spoken to the businesses that are associated with those addresses down on Alcott Street. We are speaking to currently the property management of the residents there at Alcott Street. And some more information will be forthcoming on exactly how to access that. But generally speaking, as you're heading northbound on Alcott Street, you get to Speer Boulevard, you will be able to turn right into the southbound lanes, but a left-hand turn there will not be allowed. And so users, constituents that are attempting to make that left-hand turn, they're going to have to alter their path of travel and take 28th Avenue or work their way down to 27th Avenue to Federal if you're trying to get left on Speer Boulevard at that location. Just due to some of the safety concerns of traffic flow and releasing traffic from one lane back into 3 lanes right at Alcott Street, it provides some difficulties that the city of Denver is going to take control over and only allow a right-hand turn out of Alcott Street. If that, to the person that posted that question, again, if that does not fully answer your question, please send us an email to our project email address, and we will address it in a more thorough fashion at that point in time. I see another question. How long is the project? When is it going to start? Mark, do you want to try to address that again? Specifically, how long is the occupation of the lanes of Speer Boulevard, and when does Concrete Works anticipate starting this project?
So right now we are in the permitting process, and this project does require both your standard stormwater permit. This one also requires a groundwater treatment permit. So we're in the process of pulling all of that stuff together right now. We anticipate being able to hit the ground in approximately a month. And from there, what you guys will see, we'll start at the Bryant end, and activity will move north towards 29th. we're going to try to limit the impact that we have, for the full closure, and try to keep it as tight as we can so that people can turn on the 29th if we get that through. I guess I shouldn't speak out of turn here, Matt. But we're looking at ways to alleviate the congestion there in the area. But what you guys will see happen once we start is it'll start with a couple weeks of you'll see the tank show up with the road closure. You'll see tanks show up and our guys setting up a treatment system for the groundwater and set up the bypass and all of that. And then once we start putting pipe in the ground, that part of the project will only take, I would say, depending on what all we run into, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But the surface restoration and restoration of all of the buildings around there is what is gonna it will take some time to get this corridor back into the kind of shape that we want to leave it in. So that's you'll see kind of a slow-ish start, middle to end of February, followed by some real heavy activity for approximately the month of March into April, and then surface restoration and stuff April into May. I'm hoping that gives you guys the level of detail that you're wanting here.
I think one thing you touched on it, Mark, but there is a little bit of an unknown aspect of performing any work underground, specifically at this location, because we know we're going to be dealing with groundwater, and that groundwater has to be treated before we can release it back into the storm sewer system, which ultimately sends it to the Platte River. And the existence of groundwater creates problems and for underground construction, and increases the duration of activities. It just flat out does. So it's kind of the duration of the project is kind of dependent on how much groundwater we encounter and how many hoops we have to jump through in order to handle and release that groundwater. It's a fair and accurate statement to say that our occupation of the 3 lanes of Speer Boulevard could be anticipated to be up to 5 months long. And again, we will work as a project team and as the city to minimize that period of time that we're occupying Speer Boulevard. But just the nature of what we're doing and just the construction means and methodologies that are available to us, that's an accurate assumption of the length of time at this point in time, the best that we can offer up. As we perform more work out there, we might we might be able to update the general public and the community members in the adjacent area through our website and through our weekly outreach to modify and adjust those timeframes. But at this point in time, if you're attempting to build your best guess at how long we're going to be out there, a 5-month period of time is not out of reason.
And again, just to speak, a little bit to the city's credit on that, if we were laying this footage of pipe out in some field north of Lock Buoy, it would be a week's worth of work or less. But, you know, people that live around here don't want to live or work in a field north of Lockbuoy, and you know, doing work like this in old parts of an old town like Denver, there is a lot of risk. However, this is not the city's first rodeo, nor is it ours. And you know, when we were looking at potentially bidding this job and building it, you know, one of the things we look at is how, you know, the city is prepared to handle contingencies like dealing with groundwater and that sort of thing. And we felt that they had, you know, put this specification together in a way that allowed us to kind of soak up a lot of the risks that you normally see on jobs like this, and just be ready for them if we do run into them. Certainly no guarantee. There's always unknowns working underground, but we were comfortable, you know, doing this job, even though it's a congested area, because we felt that the city provided tools in the contract to make us successful.
Okay, I am not seeing, and Tekla, please help me if I'm missing anything. I don't see any other hands raised, and I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. So maybe Tekla, if you want to put up our contact information one last time.
I have another question from the chat.
Oh, I missed it. Thank you.
It might have just gone to me, but it was asking when the project is going to start and then how long it's going to be, which we kind of just discussed, but how much in advance are you going to let us know about closing our only parking access for Speer lofts?
For Speer lofts specifically, we will give you, I mean, at the very minimum, we will give you at the very minimum a week's notice before you losing complete access to that. Again, we will be in touch throughout the job with your HOA, and they will help us distribute information to you. If for some reason you're not getting communications from your HOA, please reach out to us directly. There will be, with the nature of your access, there will be another meeting that will be held, a virtual meeting, and just with your residents, in order to further discuss what's coming, how to access the lot the best that you can during the vast majority of the duration of the construction, and then also during a portion of construction where your drive entrance will be completely cut off as we trench a 20-foot deep trench across the face of your drive entrance. You know, kind of what to expect at that point in time, and I basically just have further conversations about that. So to, I think, answer your question, we'll give you at least a week's heads up. I imagine it will be longer than that. You know, we'll say, hey, we are 3 weeks away, we're 2 weeks away. And work towards ensuring that everybody has their vehicles out of the garage before we trench across there, and work through any questions that come up with that. Like I said, right now, we still are working through some various, specific to that property, we gained some information at your property on exactly how the your current infrastructure ties into the city's infrastructure with your sanitary service line. And I will say we're investigating some other design opportunities to minimize the impact at your driveway. There's still some things that we need to further dig into as far as that's concerned. Some of them really aren't feasible because we have to do some investigation actually in the street. So they're not really feasible until we mobilize into the work location and occupy those lanes of Speer Boulevard. So for Speer Lofts, if anybody that's out there, more information is coming. I know that for sure there can be some apprehension with what we're talking about here tonight. And please do reach out to us. And, from the city's standpoint and our contractor, you have, our word that we're going to work with you the best that we can and communicate with you upfront about what's coming your way and prepare you the best that we can for any periods of time where you will not be able to access your parking lot and your parking garage structure at your home.
And then we have one more question asking, where will the road close on both sides of the construction for merging?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, we, in the southbound direction, we will be merging into one through lane of traffic in between Federal Boulevard and 29th Avenue. That's where, in the southbound direction, the merging will take place. Once you cross through the intersection of 29th Avenue, you will already be in a single lane heading into the downtown corridor. In the northbound lanes, we're still working with there are rules and guidance that's in place as far as the length of taper zones required. So it's still being worked through whether that merge will occur on the east side of Zunai Street in between I-25 and Zunai, or if that merge, if there's enough room to initiate that merge on the west side of Zunai Street in between Alcott and Zunai. So again, for heading into the I-25 downtown corridor in the southbound lanes, you should anticipate merging into one single lane between Federal and 29th Avenue. And in the northbound lanes, it's still kind of up in the, still being determined based off of industry guidelines and standards, whether that merge will occur on the east side of Zunai or on the west side of Zunai. I believe that answered the question, Tekla.
And that's all the questions I'm seeing.
Okay, again, if anybody's still hanging on to this meeting that is out there in the audience, please do take down the email address, send us an email, ask to be included on the weekly update distribution list. Send us an email anytime that you have questions. Send us call our hotline. And visit our website, as we'll be updating the website as things progress out there. So I appreciate and thank everyone for attending tonight. I thank my project team, Tekla and Rand Peterson and Mark Allman with Concrete Works for attending and helping prepare us and put on this presentation. We look forward to continuing our pre-construction work and updating everybody via our weekly updates on the website of when we're approaching the actual occupation period and the construction, and working through this project to improve our infrastructure and basically at the end of the day, get our work done, get our job done, and get out of the way and return things to a sense of normalcy in this corridor of Speer Boulevard. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and please have a good night and stay warm and drive safe tomorrow.